Have you ever heard of a place called Riverton? If you haven't, don't worry, because chances are that's how the locals want it. Riverton is a fictional town that's found its way into countless horror and thriller stories. For some reason, fiction writers seem to love putting their creepy stories in places called Riverton. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but I wouldn't bet on it. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like one of those fake news articles trying to convince people that the world is flat or that pineapple belongs on pizza. But I'm not going to let you wriggle off that easy. We're going to need to take a trip back to the 1980s today, specifically August 1st, 1985, which was a Wednesday. That date and day matter, so make sure to write it down somewhere. You'll want to remember that. So on August 1st, 1985, there was a house on Maple Lane in the town of Riverton. The house didn't look particularly remarkable. Just a regular single-story building with white paint peeling on the windowsills. But inside that house lived the Harper family, a pair of loving parents named Thomas and Laura, and their precious son Daniel, who was just 8 years old. Daniel was the kind of kid who made you feel warm inside. He loved sports, especially baseball. He got straight A's in school and could recite every planet in the solar system. Laura used to joke that Daniel was smarter than she was and would probably end up a NASA scientist. Now, I'd like to give you a detailed description of the type of day that Daniel had planned, but I can't. I mean, unless you count kicking a soccer ball around the front yard, which, let's face it, isn't exactly a barn burner of an event. No, for us lowly storytellers, the important part is that Daniel vanished from his front lawn. That's it. No complicated story, no foreshadowing, just gone. Imagine this. You rewriting a paper and suddenly your pen breaks right before your teacher comes over to check your work. And that's what life is like without Daniel Harper. What happened next was even stranger. No one knows for sure how long Daniel was missing for. The best guess is around 35 years. And yes, I'm aware of the whole math problem here. Daniel was only 8 years old, so how could he have been missing for 35 years? Well, here's the kicker. When he was finally found, he was still 8 years old. You're probably wondering if we're dealing with some kind of weird superhero situation here. Like he's one of those mutants that stops aging or something. But if that was the case, why did he wait 35 years to show up? We don't know. Here's what we do know. On January 12, 2020, an anonymous caller tipped off the Riverton Police Department that a young boy matching Daniel's description was spotted walking by himself near an old rail line just outside town. Police officers arrived on the scene and found the child wandering aimlessly. They took him back to the nearest house and called in a social worker to help figure out what to do. That's when the officers learned that the boy knew his name was Daniel Harper. He also remembered living in a house on Maple Lane and having a dog named Sparky, who was a golden retriever. He even remembered the color of his bedroom curtains. It was purple with yellow stars. After speaking with the boy, the police rushed him to Riverton General Hospital, where he was examined by doctors. Blood tests confirmed his identity. And after a thorough examination, it was determined that Daniel was in perfect health, but he was still listed as 8 years old. After hearing the news, Daniel's mother, Laura, dropped everything and drove to the hospital. She had unseen her son in 35 years, and she needed to be sure that it really was him. When Laura arrived, she collapsed to her knees, crying and whispering, "Oh God, it's really you." And that S when Daniel turned to her and said the words that shattered every reality he'd ever known. "Mom, I'm hungry." All of this might sound like a fairy tale, except there's one thing that fairy tales conveniently leave out: happily ever after. Imagine being a cop who has spent decades solving cold cases. You've interviewed hundreds of distraught parents, listened to sob stories and felt the weight of justice delayed on your shoulders. And then one day a case gets solved, but not in the way you expect. You might think you're ready for it, but the truth is, nothing can prepare you for the mystery of Daniel Harper. In a world where technology seems to hold all the answers, the return of Daniel Harper presents a puzzle that science can't solve. The medical community grappled with Daniel's case, throwing everything from state-of-the-art equipment to cutting-edge theories at the mystery. Doctors performed extensive blood tests, hoping to uncover some rare medical condition. They checked for signs of aging, hoping to find some anomaly that explained his youthful state, but the results came back negative. Daniel was a biological enigma, a medical marvel that defied all rational explanation. As the days passed, it became clear that Daniel's case wasn't just a medical mystery. It was a mystery of identity. Who was this boy who seemingly materialized out of thin air? Was he really Daniel Harper, the boy who had vanished 35 years ago? Or was he someone else entirely, someone who had somehow managed to live a life unnoticed for decades? The stakes were high. The potential implications of this case were staggering. If Daniel was truly the missing boy, it raised questions about the nature of time itself. If he had aged in a manner completely unrelated to the passage of time, it challenged the very foundations of medical science. But as the investigation deepened, so did the danger. Someone or something didn't want Daniel's story to be told. Witnesses came forward with conflicting accounts, and evidence seemed to disappear at crucial moments. The closer they got to the truth, the more the clock seemed to tick against them. The pressure mounted and Ellen found herself in a race against time, desperately seeking answers before it was too late. There are some mysteries that are better left unsolved, some secrets that are best left buried in the past. But when a cold case comes knocking, even the most seasoned investigators know that some cases aren't just files in a drawer. They're threads in the fabric of reality. And when one thread unravels, you never know how far it might reach. Stay tuned for the final chapters in this gripping mystery as we continue to explore the depths of the unexplained. Remember, time is running out. And in the game of truth, every tick of the clock brings us closer to the ultimate showdown. Don't miss a single beat. Stay tuned for more updates. Let's find out what happens next.